CA, Mahavir, Videsh, and Kavi, and other participants. Thank you for inviting me. In the next 1 hour, we will deliberate on conveyance and especially deep conveyance in the cooperative society. Okay. Conveyance or the deep conveyance is a provision which is incorporated in Maharashtra Ownership Plan Act 1963. Maharashtra Ownership Plan Act 1963 was enacted in the year 1963. The reason for enacting is that from 1950 onwards, rather 60, lot of construction activity started in Mumbai, and flat owners were unprotected. Why they were unprotected? Because there was no particular law which would protect their rights. So it was more of a contract between the builder or the developer and the flat purchaser, and they used to put whatever the terms they feel like, but they were not protected fully under any particular statute. So they had to rely on the Contract Act. But we know, when we look at a Contract Act, there is so much weight and it is of a general nature rather than a specific nature. So builders were taking full advantage, and since builders were taking full advantage, the consumers were not getting the relief what they want, and especially the many irregularities surfaced there, and therefore government appointed a paymaster committee where they examined how can we protect the rights of the flat buyer. Now just to give you, prior to this, what was the story? Prior to this, the movement of cooperative housing society started somewhere in 1920, 2030. Then people used to come together, form a cooperative society, buy the land, and after buying the land, they used to appoint an architect, contractor, get the plan passed, get the building constructed, receive the money, and allot the flats to the people. So here is this concept where multiple people could come together, many people can come together, form a legal entity, buy the land in the name of legal entity, construct in the name of legal entity, and everybody gets the occupancy right. This is how the cooperative housing society movement started. But slowly the contractor realized that why not I start the construction activity, I start collecting the money from the public, and I tell them that in future I will form a society of all the flat purchasers. I will give the conveyance later on so that you become the owner of the land later on. So this is how there was a complete shift from one thought process to another thought process. What was the thought process? Earlier, the society used to be formed first. They used to become the landowner, they used to become the building owner, and they used to allot the flats to the members. But the concept changed post 1960, where the builders started buying the land in their name. Then they started constructing the building. They started selling individual units with a promise that once the society is formed, we will form the society to manage the common areas, and then we will convey the land. But this was only on the paper, that was on the agreement, but it was not getting implemented. So therefore, the Maharashtra government realized that let us come to a particular act, that is called Maharashtra Ownership Flats Act 1963, wherein we would give certain protection to the consumers. So that is how the Maharashtra Ownership Land Act came into picture, wherein the flat owners started getting a statutory right. What is the meaning of statutory right? Statutory right means the rights which is given by the statute, which cannot be diluted, taken away by any part of the agreement. They cannot say that we will not form the society, we will not give the conveyance. So that becomes a part of the statute. Secondly, the people could demand agreement in a specific format. They could demand the building related paper, and the agreement format was also specified in the act. Then maintain the property till the society is formed and it is handed over. So these are the provisions which are very important in the Maharashtra Ownership Land Act. The next came in is Maharashtra Ownership Land Act is applicable across Maharashtra. Earlier it was applicable only in Mumbai, then Pune, Nashik, and today it is applicable across Maharashtra. And all the connected laws, whether it is a Transfer of Property Act, Stamp Act, registration, all other central and state laws are still applicable. This is in addition to the existing law. It is related to owning of freehold lease and leasehold right. The land could be freehold, it could be a leasehold, but building will be at least freehold, which means it is a ownership building. Then it is concerned with the flat. When I say flat, flat means the constructed units. It could be a residential, shop, garage, bungalow, industrial, office, development, or any property that the developer says that I will construct and give it to you in future. That is called a flat. Flat is a constructed area in a building. It could be future. It is not constructed today, but I promise you to construct in future and hand over to you. That also the future, the provider agreed to be provided by the promoter to the purchaser for a consideration is called a flat. Next, parties. Naturally, the Maharashtra Ownership Land Act or in RERA also for that matter, there are basically two parties. One is a promoter, the one who promotes the construction activity. The other is a flat purchaser, where in RERA we call as allottees. So there are two stakeholders. And of course, promoter can be a landowner and the developer. See what happens, I may be owning a land, I will give somebody else the development right. So then I, who has facilitated the construction on that particular land, I become also a part of promoter, and the builder who constructs and sells the units also is called a promoter. So this way promoter could be a landowner as well as the developer. I may be a landowner, I may be constructing myself and I am selling the units. That is one aspect of it. Or maybe I am a landowner, I give somebody else the rights to construct and sell. That also becomes a promoter. So both becomes collectively the promoters. The buyer could be a single group of person. There can be employees of one company where they can come together and book all the apartments. That is also possible. Or singly one can buy the flat. So it may be a group of persons, it could be a firm, company, or some persons. Even the promoter can be also this type of legal. So this is how there is an allottee and there is a promoter. Next. Now, as I said, there are two types of obligations which are cast on the promoter. One which is explained or given in the agreement, that is called contractual agreement, contractual obligations. Whatever is agreed in the agreement is called contractual agreement or contractual obligations. And what is written in the statute is called statutory obligation. What is given in the statute? The statute gives that the Maharashtra Ownership Land Act says that the moment you receive more than 20% amount or you want to receive more than 20% amount, you should register the agreement. That is the first criteria. Secondly, the agreement is not registered, it is deemed to have been registered. Why it is deemed to have been registered? Because some promoters may not register the agreement, and if the agreement is not registered, it will be considered as not having evidence in the eyes of law. So if it is not considered as evidence in the eyes of law, then what relief you will get? So in order to give that enabling provision, in order to give the relief to the consumers, the law itself says under section 4A that even the agreement which requires to be registered, even if it is not registered, it will be deemed to have been registered. Then provide the OC, complete the building in all aspects. He cannot say that I will complete the building halfway, I will give you kacha, house, all that will not work. Then it has to be in a full respect. He has to bring the building completion certificate, occupation certificate. Provide common facilities, whatever the common facilities. In a building, multi-story building, common facilities includes water connection, electric connection, drainage, compound, leveling, all those common amenities or garden, play area, parking, all these common areas has to be provided, which includes water connection, electric connection. Disclose the information. This is also important. Section 3 of MOFA says he has to give all the information related to the title of the land, related to the building approval, and how many flats he is going to measure, what will be the area, where, how the entity will be made to manage common areas. All this information he has to give in advance. Next, provide all the documents, all the building relevant and land relevant documents he has to give. Register the society. The moment you sell more than, right now it is 51%, earlier it was 60%, more than 51% of the units if you sell in the open market, The moment you sell more than 51%, you have to register the legal body, legal entity, there's a society, and then once you register the society, what you are agreed upon, and even in the provided the statute, you need to give the conveyance of the land and building within 4 months of formation of the society. So this is the provisions under MOFA. So that is how these are the compulsory obligations. Now the question arises, what is conveyance? Conveyance means transfer of title of land and building in the name of society. That's very simple to understand. Any transfer of land and building in the name of the society. When I am talking about conveyance here, related to the MOFA, related to the housing society. Otherwise, we know conveyance means transfer. We take the conveyance expenses. What do you mean about conveyance expenses? That means I am going from one place to another place, so I need to get a traveling expenses. That is called conveyance expenses. Conveyance. The word conveyance means transfer. Here in related to MOFA, we talk about conveyance means the transfer of title, the movement of title from the landowner and the promoter to the society. So the land and building is in the name of society. What are the purpose, objectives of this conveyance? The first and foremost is to become a legal owner. The question arises, once I buy a flat, I am not a legal owner. The answer is yes, you are a legal owner to the extent of that particular flat. But the common areas and the land is still in the name of the landowner. So in order to become the legal owner of the land and building in the name of a co-operating society, you need to have a conveyance. Second, how you become a legal owner? By executing a conveyance deed, because there has to be transfer deed. Secondly, to make entries in the government record. Unless until you register a conveyance deed, the government record like land revenue records, which we call as a Satpara or Talani, or in Maharashtra, Mumbai we call as a property card. So in order to register in the name of the government record, in order to register the name of the society in the government record, we need to have a conveyance. And the last and most important is to have free and marketable title. Now the question arises, by buying a flat and by registering a society, does it not give you a free and marketable title? The answer is no. The reason is, one, there could be a landowner who is the owner of the land. Then the landowner has given the development right to the builder, so the builder has constructed. Third, that builder has sold the individual flats to various people. That means the various individuals also become a part owner of that structure. The last is the housing society is registered, not order to get the conveyance, but they are managing and maintaining the common area without title. So once you get a title, then you become the full owner. Thereafter it becomes free and marketable title. Till such time, there will be various stakeholders on the same land. The landowner will claim his title of the land. Builder will say, I got a development right. The individual flat owner will say, I am the owner of the flat. Housing society would say, I am the housing society which is managing and maintaining the common areas. I have got a right to transfer the shares. I have got a bylaws. I am a registered body. But at the end of the day, there is no title which has been transferred. In order to get the land title transferred, there has to be conveyance. The very purpose of registration of a cooperative society. If you look at the objectives of a housing society in the bylaws, bylaw number 5A, first clause is to obtain the conveyance of land and building from the promoter. That is very important. So once you have the land and title in your name, the second objective is to manage, maintain, third is to raise the money, fourth is to have a cultural, social function and all that. But unfortunately, we forget about the title, we forget about the conveyance, but we are all busy with the, raising the money, managing, maintaining, providing water connection, or providing water or electric, or maybe common facilities, taking care of the parking, and then taking care of various disputes. But we are not at all concentrating on the very purpose of formation of the society to get the conveyance of the land and building. So therefore, the purpose is to have a free and marketable title. So the conveyance, as I said, conveyance involves two aspects. One is conveyance of the land and conveyance of the building. Many people are also of the view that conveyance means only land. No, it also involves the building, because the society need to become the owner of the land and building. Then only they will be able to manage, maintain and take care. Because there are so many common areas in the building, such as staircase, lift, or maybe terrace and drainage areas. So many common areas are there, which is a built-up area, also society office. So therefore, we need to have the conveyance of the entire land, which is a common area, plus the entire building, and then individual people get the rights to occupy those buildings. Next. So the question arises, if I have to get a conveyance, how can I get the conveyance? Naturally, it is an obligation cast on the builder to give the conveyance of the land and building. It is an obligation cast on the section 11 of MOFA to the builder, to the landowner, to convey the land and building. That can be through the builder. It is his obligation. So what I can do? I can just, as a society, I can still go to the builder, say that as per the MOFA and the purpose of formation of society is to get the conveyance. Please give the conveyance of land and building. That is the first thing. Second, builder would either give the conveyance or he may not give the conveyance. 99% of the housing societies, the developers do not take any initiative to give the conveyance. Maybe there can be 1%, because everywhere there is an exception. But the generality is that the builders, they don't come forward and give the conveyance. Then what is the second option? The second option is, naturally we can go to the court. And that has been prevailing to go to the court. If I have to go to the court, then the question arises, which court? So we will analyze which are the courts are available. And if I am going to the courts of law, then how much time it would take, what are the documents required, and what will be the repercussion, what will be the advantages, disadvantages, and all that we will analyze when we go to the court of law. The courts. The third is that in case the developer does not give the conveyance within a specified time frame, can we call it as a deemed conveyance? When I say the deemed conveyance means, can I say that if the builder is supposed to give me the conveyance of the land and building within 4 months from the formation of society? If that is the case, can we say that after 4 months it is deemed to have been conveyed? So if this is to be done, that means there is an amendment in the Act, and that is how in the month of 25th June 2008, the law has been amended. Maharashtra Ownership Land Act is amended, wherein it has been said, if the conveyance is not given within 4 months from the formation of the society by the builder or the landowner, it will be deemed to have been conveyed. It's very simple to say that it is deemed to have been conveyed. I can always say that it is deemed to have been, given in the T. I can say that deemed is a some legal fiction which we will analyze later. So there are 3 ways to get the conveyance. One, directly from the developer. Second, through the court. Third is form of deemed conveyance. Today we will, of course, concentrate more on deemed conveyance. Next. Now, if I have to get the conveyance from the builder, let us analyze from the first option. If I have to get the conveyance from the builder, what I need to do as a society? First, we have to approach the builder, as simple. When we approach the builder, of course, we write a letter to the builder saying that our society is what? More than 4 months are over. We have been given the authority by the managing committee, general body to obtain the conveyance. So please give us the conveyance, it has to be in writing. Second, you have to collect all the documents related to the land and building and member. There are 3 people who are involved, or rather 3 segments. First is the land. When I talk about land, all the land document has to be obtained. It is called Satbara or Gav Namuna Che, that is called Paper Utara. Then we call as property card or any order. Anything and everything, say conveyance deed of the earlier person. Whatever the documents related to the land, so that need to be obtained first. Second comes the building. Building IOD, CC, commencement certificate, completion certificate, OC, whatever is the document related to the building approved plan. Third is a member. What is required from the member? From the member we require the agreement for sale, which is duly stamped and registered. That is what we need from the member. So these are the documents that we need to collect. Once we have these, then we can, through an advocate, prepare the conveyance deed. Because you have to prepare the conveyance deed and approve the builder, say that this is the conveyance deed we have prepared, or the builder may prepare a conveyance deed, draft conveyance deed, and he may hand over to you. But even if he hands over, you need to verify all these documents, land, building, and members documents. Then once you have a conveyance deed which is approved in the general body, then we go to the adjudication department. There is a stamp duty department which will verify whether the appropriate stamp duty has been paid on the conveyance deed. Let us assume for a minute there are 100 flats. Out of 100 flats, all the 100 flat owners should pay the appropriate stamp duty on that agreement. If they have not paid, then those who have not paid the stamp duty on their respective agreement, that will be collected by the stamp duty department, and that exercise is called adjudication. This is done by the collector of stamps. Every district there is a collector of stamps where we need to submit the conveyance deed, along with that all the list of the members and the agreement executed from the builder or the or by the resale, whatever it is. The latest members agreement for sale along with the stamp duty has to be given. If there is any default, that will be recovered at the time of adjudicating the conveyance deed. Next. For this, we register the conveyance deed with the sub-registrar. The way where the agreements are for sales are registered, same way there we register the conveyance deed. Conveyance deed, another name is sale deed. Agreement for sale is where we agree to purchase the flat. He agrees to sell the flat, gives you the position of the flat, then he agrees to form the society, then he agrees to enter into sale deed. So the sale deed and conveyance deed means one and the same. Authorizing, so it will be registered with the sub-registrar. Thereafter we get the index 2 from the sub-registrar and also the original conveyance deed duly registered. Thereafter we approach the city survey office or Talati office, where Satmara will be changed or the property card will be changed in the name of the society. So this is how the 7 steps involved, even if I have to go with the builder. The problem is the builders sometimes they don't approve the conveyance deed. If they approve also, they will say it is with the solicitor, and so much efforts they take, and at the end of the day, that conveyance does not happen. Yeah.
Sir, if society's land is an agricultural land as per the record, we don't get property card change without getting the converting into NA. Is that a necessary, sir?
So what happens is, in Mumbai, we have something called property card, and earlier it was 7-12 extract. 7-12 extract says that it's the agricultural land. So if you want to make what is known as the non-agricultural, therefore there has to be NA order. So unless until the agriculture is converted into non-agricultural, you will not get the permission from the building. Especially in suburb, especially in Andheri or I would say Bandra. Bandra was up to Desa also, an eastern suburb. What happened was, earlier the Tahsildar was not supposed to give the, Tahsildar is not entitled to give the NA order. But 1 or 2 Tahsildars, you know how they manage, 1 or 2 Tahsildars started that process of issuing the NA order. And thereafter, every developer started getting the NA order passed by the Tahsildar. And they used to get the plan passed. Everything was done. Even you used to get the OC. But later on, government realized that this Tahsildar is not authorized to issue the NA order, and therefore the entire NA was cancelled. Now, having cancelled the NA, all the land where there is a building as on today, okay, or they have become agricultural land once again, because the NA order given by the Tahsildar was cancelled. Having said that, whether the OC has been given, the answer is no. Whether you are staying there, yes, you are staying there. Because of this lacuna, today what is happening is, even if I get a conveyance deed registered in my name, they say first you get the name transferred in the Satpara. Thereafter I have to go to the collector, get the agriculture into non-agriculture, and after converting non-agriculture, then they will incorporate my name in the property card. Till such time they are not doing it. I fully agree with you. Today that is a problem as far as suburb is concerned, which need to be addressed in a due course of time. We as a federation are working on that aspect, but right now we have not got success. But then, yes, your question to answer is whether it should be converted into Non-agricultural, before getting the property card changed in the name of the society, answer is yes, you have to get it converted. I think I have answered your question and I have given you the background also. Next. Now the second option is going to the court. If I have to take the legal route, yes, I can go to the civil court under the specific relief act. There is a specific relief act 1963 where it says that if something has been agreed upon or if some statute provides certain provisions and if it is not complied by the other party, non-applicant, or rather we say as a respondent, in that case we can go to the civil court and get that obligation implemented. So we can go to the civil court. The problem in the civil court is it takes minimum 5 to 7 years. Now having said that it takes 5 to 7 years because there is something called cross-examination, there is something called examination in chief, there is something called reading the evidence, and Evidence Act, Civil Procedure Code, everything is applicable. So it takes longer duration. And even if I assume that I am able to get some relief in civil court, the respondent, that is a builder, will definitely go to the appeal, that is in the High Court. The moment the matter goes in the High Court, believe me, it is for next 20 years, it will be pending. And even if I am able to succeed after 20 years in the High Court, he may take us to the Supreme Court because at the end of the day, he doesn't want to give up the title of the land. This is one. Second challenge in the city civil court is that even if I make an application, in between one can go on moving a small application that is called interim application. Even in the process of interim application, that interim application again he can challenge in the High Court and then of course in the Supreme Court. So that interim application, till that is not finally reached, the main application does not begin to work. Third, we are all lucky. You are all lucky. The one who has gone in the civil court is lucky. I get an order 100% in my favor, assuming that further that person against whom I have got the order, okay, does not go in the appeal. I got after 7 years the order. The order says that the respondent shall convey the land and building, okay, to the society within next 6 months. Excellent. After 6 months, if it does not do, what happens? Then I will have to go back to the city civil court, say that execute the order that you have given. By that time, builders company gets liquidated or the landowner expires. The moment landowner expires, then I will have to bring the legal heirs on the record. I don't know who are the legal heirs. Assuming that I bring the legal heirs, that is another next 2 to 3 years. Because that legal heirs again will come, respond, and then I get that order. And even implementation, what happens is, the moment I implement, I go for the implementation, the city civil court will again start the process. What is the process? Why you are not done? What is the issue? All that. Then they will come out with so many reasons, and ultimately city civil court will employ, just like understand, city civil court will employ or appoint their registrar as an officer to execute the conveyance. If the builder does not convey, landowner does not convey, then the court appoints a person, registrar, as an executor of the conveyance deed. Now that registrar starts collecting all the documents. That registrar will say, give me the approved plan, give me the this, you give me that, you get the adjudication done. So he will take another 2 to 3 years to prepare the conveyance deed and execute. Because he is not having only one work, he has n number of work, but he has been given an additional job of conveying the land and building on behalf of the landowner and builder who have defaulted. So that means for every society who has got a favorable order, the court has to appoint a court receiver, or we call it as a competent officer, or we call it as a registrar to execute the conveyance. Now this process, and once you go in the execution, there also they will file an application in the appeal, possible. So these are the so many issues in the civil code. So therefore it has been the experience of the government that has not taken a good shape. Of course, one can go to the consumer court. Now it is Consumer Protection Act 2019. Earlier it was 1986. There also same issue. You have to go in a different forum, then district forum, then state commission, then you have national commission, and again Supreme Court. And again there also, even if the order is passed, they have to appoint a registrar. Registrar has to examine. So that is another long-run process. One can go to the criminal court. We have seen number of cases where the people have gone to the criminal court where the conveyance is not given. After 8 to 10 years, you get the order. But the order, 100 rupees penalty is levied on the builder for not giving the conveyance. Just 100 rupees penalty. But am I getting the conveyance? The answer is no. So if I am not getting even the conveyance, even by going to the criminal court after fighting for so many years, because it can be a deterrent factor. But again, there also one can go to the session court, then high court, and then Supreme Court. So there also he may raise so many issues. Then what is the left out? Therefore, on the various representation that 2002 onwards that we have been doing, ultimately government said, okay, let us have a small committee. The committee was constituted, and we said, why not make a provision of deemed conveyance? What do you mean by deemed conveyance? The deemed conveyance means we say that once the statutory period of 4 months are over, and if the conveyance is not given, it is deemed to have been conveyed. Now, having said deemed to have been conveyed, somebody should execute. Now we said, let the district deputy registrar be considered in the statute itself as a registrar to execute the conveyance deed on behalf of the landowner and builder. So now, all the process of making an application to civil court, going for examination in chief, evidence reading, all that is gone. And then passing the order, and by passing the order, then appoint the registrar to implement the order, everything is gone. What the law says, within 4 months, if the conveyance is not given, it is deemed to have been conveyed, go to the registrar who will execute the conveyance given. That means now the process of only execution is remaining. That registrar will receive an application from the society, and he will execute the conveyance in the name of the society on behalf of landowner and builder. It has been made so simple, but still people find it very difficult, and lot of reliefs have been demanded by the people. So the next is, the question arises, what are the powers given to the registrar? Registrar has been given powers under 5 sections, or rather 4 sections. What are these 4 or 5 sections? That is, one is section 5, where if the builder does not give the accounts for the share money, entrance fees, or society formation, or development charges, or maintenance purpose, if he does not give the accounts, you can ask for the accounts from the registrar. Second, if the builder does not form the society, you can go to the registrar and get the society formed. Section 11, if the builder does not convey within 4 months, you can go and get the conveyance. And the last is, if the builder does not comply with some of the obligations, you can request the registrar to debar him from carrying out the bidding activity under section 13(4) and 13(5). So these are the 5 sections under which the registrar has been given the authority, or registrar, that is district deputy registrar, has been given the power to go ahead and give the relief to the consumers. Now, the question arises, section 5, what are the disclosures? It is not the cost of consideration which is received and spent. That is not the case. Other than the cost of consideration, like payable to various authorities, taken development charges, water meter deposit, electric meter, premium payable to various authorities, if that is taken is as a, in addition to the cost of the flat, yes, one can look at it. Payment of taxes. If the builder takes the money in the name of BMC tax, NA tax, temporary registration, earlier it was MVAT, now it is a GST. So in various names, if it is collected, then that money, whether it has been utilized for that purpose or he has siphoned for maintenance, water charge, irrigation, common service charge, insurance, and common like share money, conveyance charges, purpose fund, advance maintenance, legal fees, other things. Yet any money which is in addition to the cost of the flat, if it is recovered, the accounts for which can be asked for. And once you ask the accounts, they have to give. If they don't give, we can go to the registrar. We don't have to go to the consumer court, or we don't have to go to the what is known as. We don't have to go to consumer court. We don't have to go to a high court or anywhere. We go to the registrar and get the information. Next. Now section 10, we were talking about formation of the society. Yes, society can be formed, or federation can be formed, company can be formed, or condominium can be formed under the apartment law. So this way, we have various legal entities which can be formed by the builder to take care of the common areas. And if it is not done, yes, I can go to the registrar and get the society also formed. Next, as I said, under section 11, if the conveyance, I can go with all the legal remedy. If not, I can go to the district deputy registrar notified as a competent authority. CA here means competent authority, and in the year 2010, rules were made. Next. On 25th February 2008, the amendment was carried out to provide district deputy registrar as a competent authority, and rules were made in the year 2010. Next. As we say, we can send the developers to the jail, but it doesn't serve the purpose. As I said, even if I send the developers to the jail, but am I going to get the conveyance? The answer is no. Therefore, people were looking for some remedy of getting conveyance as quickly as possible. So therefore, what is deemed conveyance? Deemed conveyance is as good as conveyed. It is treated as conveyed. It's a legal fiction. But actually, conveyance can be happening to the common person. I'll give just a small antecedent, or rather I would say a small incident. In America, there is a Motor Accident Act. And in the Motor Accident Act, certain, punishments were levied to the person who does the aggressive or, driving. What happened was that this is a true story. What happened was there one beautiful girl who took license very recently. She started driving the car, and certainly because of that accident, the other person got injured, and car also got damaged, and ultimately that person expired. Now naturally, if it is something, rash driving, naturally that person, that girl has to be punished. So, but the problem is that the matter went to the court, and the other side advocate, the girl's advocate, said, look at the provisions of the law. The law says a man, a prudent man who does rash driving and does something wrong, naturally they are punished. So the law was very clear that it was about man. So therefore she got escape. But now if that man gets, that girl has got escape, now the law has to be amended. Now how the law was amended? The law was amended saying that prudent man makes any mistake in rash driving will be punished. Provided that in this section, the man, even if the woman drives, she will be deemed to be man. Are you with me? So for that particular section, here man, woman also means man. So this is something called a legal fiction, which is not actual, but it is created. We know under the income tax that even if you get a company gives you the, closely held companies, if they are giving you the loan to the directors out of the reserves, then it is deemed to be the dividend. Whether it is a dividend, actually it may not be the dividend, but we call it as deemed dividend. Then we know under the income tax about deemed let out. I have got two houses. One house I have given it to myself, another house I must have kept it closed. But then it is say it is deemed to have been let out, and they charge the rental income and then charge the income tax. Same way, that is something legal fiction. Here is the system where a legal fiction has been created. What is a legal fiction? Legal fiction is that legal fiction is legal provision. What is this legal provision? That within 4 months the conveyance has to be given. If it is not given, it is deemed to have been conveyed. So therefore, now having obtained this legal fiction, now we need to convert it to actual. How can we do actual? The actual is done by next. So now we have to get the actual conveyance. How can we get the actual conveyance? Actual conveyance can be done only through the registrar. Now if I have to get it to the registrar, then how can do? I can do. First is you make an application to the registrar saying that our society is more than 4 months old. The builder, we have written a letter, he has not given me the conveyance. So please give me the conveyance because I have deemed to have been conveyed. Our society has got deemed conveyance. So the court fee of 2,000 rupees. Certified copy of the land, whatever was required earlier, all certified copy of the land record has to be given to the registrar. Certified copies of the building document has to be given, approved plan and other things. Plat documents, plat agreement, individual members, and application. If I am going to apply to the deemed conveyance, naturally I have to prove my identity. What is my identity? Is the registration certificate. Next. So I have to give a registration certificate. Then other relied upon document, if I have given a public notice, there is a CTS plan, there is various things. Then suppose it is a layout, then I have to say what is my entitlement. Out of layout there are 5 buildings, let us say. In 5 buildings, how much is my entitlement? I have to get architect certificate. Then there is something called, earlier there was a survey number, now there is a property card, that is CTS number. I have to match those things and I should say that which is in the agreement there is a survey number of 42. Now CTS number is 302. So I have to match how it is matching. Then search report. The advocate may have to take the search report as to who is the last owner of the land. So all these documents I need to procure and give it to the registrar so that the registrar, after going through all these documents, will be able to decide that I am entitled for the conveyance. Now the question arises, why should I do all this exercise? What is the benefit of conveyance? The first and foremost, I become the owner of the land. Otherwise, till such time, as I said, I will not be having a freehold land. I will not be able to take the benefit of the commercial benefits. The property naturally appreciates even by 500 rupees per square foot. Then loan can be raised by loan mortgage. FSI can be used, and the redevelopment is possible. Today, if you want to go for redevelopment, unless if you have a conveyance, you cannot do. So these are the reasons why which we need to get the conveyance. Next. Having said that, conveyance is a must. Next. As I said, I can send the builders to the jail, I can, but something like this happens. Can you relate to this newspaper item? Many of you can relate. Youngsters may not, but people like us can relate. You know, this is Lakshmi Chaya building of Borivali, which collapsed. Now, many deaths also took place, and recently that, you know, the one who was having jewelry business and who had done lot of structural changes, court said no, it is not because of his fault the building has collapsed. It was structurally weak, therefore it has been collapsed, and he has been given relief. Now coming to the question, if this type of thing happens, whether you will be able to reconstruct the building, the answer is no. Why you will not be able to reconstruct the building? Because you are not the owner of the land. Same thing happened in Lakshmi Chaya. I always, go on Sundays various places. And Lakshmi Chaya also building, I happened to go there. They had invited me, it was about 22 years old building. They said, we don't have the conveyance. We gave all this lecture. Please take the conveyance, there is a deemed conveyance provision. They said, what is the expenses? I said 25,000 rupees per flat. Then we have 50 members. It is going to be costing around 5 lakh rupees, 6 lakh rupees. Therefore, we will pay. It is not possible. I said, fine, then that's a call you have to take. But one or two members also said, he has a marketing skill, so he comes and goes. Another member said, wife does not allow him to sit on Sunday. So instead of wife not sitting, he comes on Sundays and gives the lecture. So the question is that they did not venture into take the convince. At the end, after 2-3 years, that building collapsed. Believe me, next 2 years, everybody paid 6 lakh. Where everybody was supposed to pay 25,000 rent, it was, decided for going and appointing a developer, get the conveyance, and there we had quoted about 6 lakh rupees expenses. They had to spend more than 1.5 crore. And this is not that what I am saying. The secretary came in the public platform, he announced, and it came in the newspaper also. Why? Because many people could not produce the proof of stability, pay, documents, other things, and that is how they had to spend 2 years in getting the conveyance, and thereafter start the redevelopment. 2 years, everybody spent 60 lakh rupees. Secondly, they had to spend about 1.5 crore. So, if why one has to wait for all this situation? I would say if we are a member of the society, we have to see that at least this conveyance is fulfilled. Next. Now, what is the document required? I have simply said you need a society registration, you need a stability paid proof, agreement for sale, commencement certificate, IOD, CC, building approved plan. Next. These are the documents which are required. 7th extent, government revenue office, search report from the advocate, property card, index 2, MA order, next development agreement. These are some of the documents. Even if it is not there, if you can get even 1 or 2 documents, that is enough. Many of the societies also I have seen and they have come to our office. They are saying, sir, builder is came fine. He has sold that land. He is a builder. He has given the what do you call land on the development. The developer has sold the flat. Societies are registered. Now he is greed of money. The builder is in greed of money. Naturally, our landowner is in greed of money. That person sells the land to another developer. Are you with me? What happens? Instead of giving conveyance to the society, that landowner sells the land to another developer. Because now the building has come under the redevelopment, so that the another developer will be able to redevelop. In such cases, the word promoter means a person, partnership firm, body, or whoever constructed or this to be constructed. Very importantly, it includes his assignees. When I say it includes his assignee, that means even if that landowner or the builder has sold to somebody else, that person also steps into the shoes of the builder and promoter, and it becomes their responsibility to give the conveyance, and dim conveyance also can be obtained in such cases. We have obtained in such case one dim conveyance, and this matter went traveled up to High Court and then Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court also has upheld that is the promoter definition includes the assignee. So new developer cannot say I have not sold, I have not promised, but because he has taken that defective title, it becomes his responsibility to give the conveyance to the society. So this is how the promoter includes the assignees. Yes. Now, very important, as I said, 2008 the amendment, there are 2 obligations which are cast. One is he is giving the certificate that you are entitled for conveyance. Immediately thereafter he executes the conveyance. This is the beauty of the order, because you don't have to make a separate application for execution of the conveyance deed. The moment conveyance order is passed, immediately he prepares the conveyance deed and he gives you conveyance deed also. So to order and implement the remedial steps by common authority in the common interest of the flat buyer, this is very important that even he can implement the order of conveyance. Next. Now the question arises, what will happen at the registrar's office? What are the activities that take place? First is, yes, once we make an application, they will scrutinize the application. If it is proper, then they will issue the notice to the respondent, that's the landowner and the builder. There's form number 7, which is in a specific format. The applicant is the society, respondent is the builder and the landowner or their legal heads. So there will be appearance and non-appearance. Even if they don't appear, an ex parte order will be passed in our favor, so we don't have to worry. Production and inspection of the document. Sometimes we may request certain documents are not with us. We can say that they are with the developer, so we can request the registrar to direct the developer to produce the document, or even some of the documents which we produce, the developer may also ask for the inspection. So this way we can ask for the inspection or production of the document. Then parties should file the relevant documents and that's it. Very important. The parties need to file their reply in writing. There is no cross-examination which takes place. On the receipt of the reply from the opponent, the applicant who is contained deal with the respondent's reply. All this, in writing. Next. Once this takes place, everything. So very important, as I said, opponent may file a written say on the next date. No cross-examination. What do you mean by cross-examination? In the court of law, especially in the civil court or in the criminal court, there is something called cross-examination. Asking various questions to the other side. Here there is no question to be asked, nothing. What happens is, you produce the document, you give in writing, ultimately there may be an oral hearing. Hearing means we say whatever we want to, the other person say whatever he wants to say. There will be oral argument, but there will not be cross-examination. And within 6 months from making such inquiry and hearing, within 6 months, the registrar will pass an order whether we are entitled for a conveyance or we are not entitled for a conveyance. So in that case, we are naturally 99% cases society gets the conveyance and then the conveyance orders are passed and he gives a certificate and speaking order. Then applicant is a fit case for getting the deemed conveyance or unilateral conveyance. Thereafter, the deemed conveyance deed is prepared. Deemed conveyance deed is prepared. He executes the deemed conveyance deed on behalf of the landowner and bidder, and then it's sent to the adjudication. Then we register it, and then register will issue a show cause notice to the developer if there is any stay from the High Court and other thing on the deemed conveyance order. If there is no stay, then he will register the conveyance deed. So this is how the entire deemed conveyance takes place. Now the second question which normally is asked is there any stamp duty payable? The answer is yes, stamp duty is payable because Bombay Stamp Act is of 1958. There, at the time of agreement, before 1985, you must have paid 5 rupees. But at the time of conveyance, you were supposed to pay the stamp duty as per Article 25. There are 2 articles. One, Article 5, which says that you pay only 5 rupees at the time of agreement process because you are just agreeing to purchase. The sale deed has not happened. When you are applying the sale deed, you pay the stamp duty. So that means, under the Bombay Stamp Act, now it's the Maharashtra Stamp Act, one, at the time of agreement you pay 5 rupees. And at the time of conveyance you pay as per Article 25, at that time 10% was the stamp duty, up to 50,000. 50,000 to 1 lakh it was 12%, and above 1 lakh it was 15%. So that was payable only at the time of sale deed, at the time of conveyance. So what it means? In legal language or in our normal language, we can call it as postponement of liability. But government realized in the year 1985 that none of the societies are going for conveyance, none of the societies are going for sale deed, and we are losing revenue. So the IAS officer at that time said, what we will do, any document after 10/12/1985, even if it is an agreement for sale, we will consider the stamp duty of sale deed. And if at all sale deed does not happen or agreement for sale is cancelled, they will be refunded all 98% money, only 1%, not even 98, 99% amount will be refunded, only 1% will be taken as service charge. So, the amendment happened in the Stamp Act on 10/12/1985 that agreement for sale will be considered as a conveyance or deemed to be the conveyance, again deeming provision, deemed to be the conveyance, and took the stamp duty on that agreement for sale full. And at the time of conveyance, you have to pay only 100 rupees. So the provision was just reversed. And therefore there is a lot of confusion among the people that agreement prior to 1985, we were not required to pay the stamp duty. Why at the time of conveyance we have to pay the stamp duty? The answer is very simple. There was a postponement of liability, and because of that, the agreement prior to 1985, if the stamp duty has not been paid, they have to pay now at the time of conveyance. And the people after 10/12/1985, if they have paid the stamp duty on the agreement for sale as a conveyance, then they don't have to pay more than 100 rupees. So only 100 rupees they have to pay. So this is the provisions as far as stamp act is concerned. That is how at the time of agreement, so the stamp duty at the time of agreement or at the time of possession or at the time of conveyance, whichever the is, at one time you have to pay. If you have paid at the time of agreement for sale itself, at the time of conveyance you have to pay 100 rupees. So any one of the stages you are required to pay. Next. So one more thing, calculation of stamp duty up to 10/12/1985, before 1980, actually it's 4th July 1980, not August, 4th July 1980, as per the agreement value. So earlier, agreement value was final. There was nothing called ready reckoner value market concept. But after 4th July 1980, there is a market value concept came. So agreement value or market value, whichever is more, on that stamp duty is taken. And after 10/12/1985, it has to be as per the market value only or agreement value, whichever is more, you have to pay as per the agreement. I'll just tell you, in the year amnesty scheme had come, and in the amnesty scheme, people had applied the agreement for sale, saying that you collect the stamp duty whatever you want to collect. But government said we will not be able to collect because your agreement for sale is executed prior to 10/12/1985. Can you read the last para? Your sale agreement deed is executed before 10/12/1985. At the time of execution of your sale deed or agreement for sale, the agreement for sale was not treated as a part conveyance, and provision for collection of duty was not applicable at that time. As such, agreement is considered properly stamped under Article 5(s). However, it must be noted that whenever you proceed to procure the conveyance, you would be liable to pay the full stamp duty on the current market value of your property as applicable under the rules. That means, at the time of conveyance, you have to pay the full stamp duty. Next. There was a postponement of liability. These are some of the photographs Prithviraj Chavan with whom I had interaction. Next. This is my deemed conveyance book which was released. And this is actually deemed conveyance deed. On the top, if you can see, it is a conveyance deed, signed, sealed. Yeah, go ahead. Next. If you see, signed, sealed, delivered by SP Gorpade, Competent Authority, under Section MOFA 1963, to grant the deemed conveyance on behalf of Sunshine Enterprises. That means Sunshine Enterprise is the builder. Because he has not executed, now the Competent Authority steps into the shoes of the builder and executes the conveyance deed. And as a buyer, it is the society, Daisar, Ajanta, Ellora, Common Society, chairman, secretaries have signed. And this is how the conveyance deed gets registered. So under the deemed conveyance, many people are under the impression that they are not actual conveyance, it's a fiction, we don't get TDR benefit, we are not able to do the redevelopment. It's all, illusions, they are wrong. Actually, you get the deemed conveyance. Welcome, Ramesh.
So next speaker is
Next speaker has come to put pressure on me. Now he knows at least up to 2 o'clock I am not going to leave. So he has nothing to do. He could have come after 2 o'clock on lunch. Anyway, so coming to the thing, deemed conveyance is the provisions in the Act where the developer does not give the conveyance within 4 months, it is deemed to have been conveyed, but through the registrar we get the actual conveyance. And the registrar steps into the shoes of the builder and landowner, we get the conveyance deed, duly registered, stamped, and we get the property card in our name, and you become the actual owner. So this process needs to be done. This is one of the professional opportunity for the chartered accountant. More than professional opportunity, if you are a member of the society, at least you see whether your society has got the conveyance or not. If they have not got, please do get it. Next. The problem is, as I said, there is a Registration Act, there is a Stamp Act, MCS Act, Maharashtra Ownership Act. These are the various provisions of the Act which are going to get affected, and therefore, next. Therefore, there is always a problem. There is a ULC, there is a BMC, there is a land revenue code, there is a bylaws. These are the various provisions of the law. Then you have to visit various departments to get compliant. There is city survey office, collector of stamps, sub-registrar, assessment department, collector office, and revenue department, many more departments. Just to give you an example, deemed conveyance order is passed by the deputy registrar, DDR. You have to go to the collector of stamps for stamp duty verification. You have to go to the sub-registrar for registration. You have to go to the city survey office for, property card change. So that means 4 departments, very simple. In addition to that, in order to collect the documents from the BMC, you have to go to the BMC. If there is a ULC remark, you have to go to the collector. So many departments you have to go and verify, and so many remarks are there. So therefore, it is sometimes very difficult for us to do the conveyance that easily, but you need a profession. A chartered accountant can do. We are doing number of societies deemed conveyance. This is where in the stamp duty department there was issues. Bala said Torah, revenue minister, and we had discussed. This is where the Rashtrapati Bhavan had an opportunity to go there, interact and discuss. And when Prabhu party was there, when the deemed conveyance law came in, the problem was that the government officers were not keen in going and convincing the Rashtrapati. There what happens is a lot of issues come up for them to put a pressure. But as a representative of the public, as an association representative, I had an opportunity to go to every nook and corner and see that the deemed conveyance gets implemented. But unfortunately, from 2010 to 2013, hardly 5 to 7% housing societies have got the deemed conveyance. The rest of the society are still not interested in getting conveyance. And honestly speaking, these are some of my books which I had presented to Rashtrapati when my 2 sons and my wife, or 4 of us had gone there, of course with the various other delegates. And now just to give you one more hint, the next is, go ahead. This is another book where Marathi deemed conveyance book was released by Sachin Iyer, housing minister at that time. Now before I go to the various case laws, let me just tell you, now the government wants to repeal MOFA. That is unfortunate. If the MOFA is repealed, the deemed conveyance also gets repealed. Now therefore, though Cooperative Commissioner wants that MOFA should not be repealed, but the builders lobby is so aggressively working that in next, आप बाहर जा सकते हो ना? So you can say that the builders lobby is working so hard that in next 1 year or maximum 2 years, MOFA is going to be abolished. If MOFA is going to be abolished, that means the deemed conveyance is getting abolished. If the deemed conveyance is getting abolished, then who will do that conveyance? Possibly, they may come out in the new law, or they may say that it should be done by RERA. Whatever it is done, it will not be as easy as this. So therefore, last 3 years, Commissioner has been putting a lot of efforts to drive this mission, and this year I have given you the booklet. So let me just take you through the booklet. Page number 7 we can straight away come. Page number 5 is Marathi and page number 7 is in English. Now what the Commissioner has been doing? The Commissioner wants that deemed conveyance, every society should have their deemed conveyance. Nearly 60% housing society in Mumbai, they don't have the conveyance, deemed conveyance or conveyance. As I said, the awareness. Most important is awareness. If I have to ask you also, many people may not be knowing whether your society has got a conveyance or not. Page number 7, regarding the seminar to be held for deemed conveyance of housing society, 24 March 2023, that Commissioner of Cooperative has issued a circular notification wherein para number 1, if you see, or I will start from the beginning. In order to get the conveyance of the cooperative society in the state, this office has issued circular from time to time. Detailed instructions have also been given in the monthly review meeting at the office level. Also regarding newly registered home society, this office has informed about the completion of conveyance through a special campaign by the head of the concerned taluka as soon as the period of 4 months after the registered society is complete. In this matter, concrete action is still not being taken at the district level, and it has been pointed out that comprehensive action is not being taken at that level to complete the conveyance of home society. Taking this matter into consideration, the following procedure we follow in all the district to complete the conveyance of home society. 1. In every taluka ward level, an updated list of home society who have got the conveyance and the society who are not yet received the conveyance need to be prepared. So that means commissioner is asking the registrar to prepare this list. You tell me why he should do all this? It's the duty of the society to see whether he has got a conveyance or not. If he does not have the conveyance, he is losing the title of the land, which are crores of rupees. He cannot go for the redevelopment. He is not the owner of the land. Still, the commissioner is telling the registrar, and the registrars have started writing a letter to the society asking for the information whether they have got a conveyance and all. Believe me, societies are not ignorant. They are saying Janadu. So this is such an ignorant step. The planning of the next year to complete the conveyance of home society where the conveyance has not been completed is to be prepared by the concerned in that taluka. Within 1 year, he wants that maximum society should get the conveyance before the deemed conveyance gets abolished. Yeah, they have started calling the auditor and to give the information to the auditor because society is not giving the information. तो बोलते हैं कि कम से कम ऑडिटर अपना ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में डालो and based on the audit report at least they are able to get a compilation and then they are able to write a letter to the society. It is the society's interest to get the conveyance, but societies are not getting. So they are like, I always tell housing society like, you know, Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna sleep for 6 months. These people sleep for 60 years also. Forever. To complete the conveyance as a plan by the Cooperative Housing Society Taluka ward level authorities should seek cooperation of the Federation of Home Societies and Federation of Certified Auditors. In this, the district deputation has to take a special part. At each taluka level, at least 50 non-conveyance society representative of respective housing society federation and members of certified auditors, a seminar should be organized by calling them together. So this way, he has asked us to now let you know that even for conveyance, to get a deemed conveyance, you don't have to have occupation certificate. Even if you don't have occupation certificate, you don't serve some of the documents, still the conveyance is possible. I have done one society conveyance. You will be surprised to know that they were not having IOD, they are not having CC, they are not having approved plan, they are not having individual agreement. Even society registration was not there with them. So still, by following a due process, we could get the conveyance of that, because they must have traveled to at least 15-20 consultants, even to the registrar's office. They said it is not possible. But I said, no, let us make it possible. How we did? I said, first, you don't have the agreement. Fine. Everybody has only small allotment letter, no agreement. I said, fine. Then if that allotment letter is there, on what basis allotment letter has been given? So what I did is, I started doing the research, search, and we could collect a document which the landowner had given to one developer, saying that you develop and construct the building and hand over the flats to these are the tenants. That one document helped me. They were all existing tenants and they were not having allotment letter. But one allotment letter was there that was sufficient for me to create more allotment letters to the society. Then I said, based on this, let the society issue the allotment letter to all the members. So they issued the allotment letter. That is how I created, or rather started with the first process. Second, there is no plan. There is no IOD. So we went to the DMC, we wrote to RTI, everything we got refunded, returned saying that there is no file. If there is no file, then what is to be done? Then we filed the appeal. In the appeal, they said, you reconstruct the file. I said, how to reconstruct the file? Then what we did, we went to the BMC assessment department, took the list of the flats there, assessment done. Based on that, we appointed the architect, we prepared the plan, And after, as if this is the new plan, we prepared the existing building 48 flats plan. We submitted to the BMC. We got the acknowledgement, and thereafter that plan with the architect was submitted to the BMC for deed conveyance application. So that is how the agreement was created, the plan was created, then the review notice was created. Then we were not having a registration certificate of the society. We went to the registrar. We said, "Sir, give me the registration certificate." He said, "I don't have the file. This is such a old, 50 years old society." He said, "I don't have." At that time, registrar office was somewhere in Maharashtra. Now it is in Konkan, so the file is missing. It is of Ghatkopar society. So that we don't have. Then what is to be done? I had to go to the Mantralaya. Once the society is registered, there is a gazette publication takes place. So we had to go to the Maharashtra government gazette, dig out there, take the gazette. After doing 10 years search, in which year the gazette is there. So we got the gazette. From gazette we supplied the gazette copy as the affidavit, police complaint to the registrar. We got the duplicate certificate from the registration department. Thereafter we gave the identity of the society. So this process was done. It took about 2 years. Thereafter we got the conveyance order. Now the property card came in and the registration was done, stamp duty was paid. What I am saying is you need to take some efforts to get the conveyance done. So many judgments have come in favor of the society. The first judgment is next in 2013. HD Dharekar. See, the builder said there is no completion certificate. So how can the conveyance be done? DDR gave the conveyance when there was no completion certificate, and the respondent says was not done for order of completion certificate. That means he says the completion certificate is not there, so therefore the conveyance should not be granted. Who has to get the completion certificate? Builder has to get. And अपना खुद का गलती और उसका कैपिटलाइज करना चाहता है. That means he wants to capitalize his own default. So that means he is, so therefore the Honorable High Court said the petition is dismissed even if there is no completion certificate. The conveyance which has been granted has been upheld. That means completion certificate is not required. Now the government has come out with the GR itself. Next. There was a case, Devgar Ravandi Society. They had filed a case in the consumer court. And because deemed conveyance came in, they filed an application in the deemed conveyance also. They did not withdraw the consumer court case. And therefore the DDR said, unless until you withdraw the consumer court case, I will not give you the decision on the deemed conveyance. Went to the High Court. High Court said, the matter is related to deemed conveyance. It is due to have been conveyed. You are an authority appointed. Once the matter has come to you, you either grant it or reject, but you have to take the decision. So then the court said, even if the conveyance case is pending in the consumer court, now the matter is before you, so you can decide. And accordingly, the deemed conveyance was granted even when the matter was pending in the consumer court. However, we are telling the client, just apply for the withdrawal of that particular claim on the conveyance and go to the deemed conveyance. Many societies are saying, sir, we had filed the case in the year 2001. Now it is 20 years old. We have fought so long. Why should we give up? यार उधर भी आपको मिला तो उसका अपील होगा. उसका एग्जीक्यूशन में आप 10 साल लगेगा. आप क्यों समझते नहीं हो? आप उधर से विड्रॉ करेंगे तो 6 महीने में आपको कन्वेंस मिलता है. नहीं हमारा जनरल बॉडी बोलते हैं अभी तक हमने 10 लाख रुपए खर्चा किया. 10 साल लड़के और अभी क्यों डीम करने नहीं आएंगे? उधर मिलेगा. यार उधर मिलेगा कितना टाइम लगेगा मालूम नहीं. Here is a situation where the registrar is appointed, he gives the conveyance in 6 months. There it may take another 6 years. Why you want to go in the hard way, which was not there at that time. That time there was no deemed conveyance. Now there is a easy method. Go for the deemed conveyance. Next. So even if the conveyance is pending in other court, you can withdraw. Next. Needless to state that the letter dated would not come either way for the petition society or other party for hearing the said agreement. Next. That means deemed conveyance can be granted. Deemed conveyance is possible even if there is a balance FSI. Some builders said, sir, there is a balance FSI I want 10,000 square feet FSI, out of which 9,000 I used, there is balance FSI 1,000. Unless until I exhaust 1,000 FSI, you cannot give the conveyance. The High Court said nothing doing. You are supposed to give the conveyance within 4 months. FSI, if there is a balance, you should have used. If you are not used, still the conveyance can be granted. So that is how the conveyance has been permitted. Next. Next. Dispute raised before the open space. Now there are two societies in between, one society and two societies. There is an open space. If there is a dispute between the two buildings regarding open space or FSI, still the deemed conveyance is possible. Even if in the layout, the deemed conveyance is possible. Next. Next. So with this, I would say, a deemed conveyance is a good. One should take the benefit of this as early as possible. And then whatever questions you have, next 5 minutes, I am with you. Thank you. Any questions on the deemed conveyance? It's one of the opportunities for you also to, you can put off. इसको बंद भी कर सकते हैं. Yeah. Okay. See, the hard question is very simple. In a layout, it will be 2 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres. If there are 10 societies, 20 societies, big layout with internal road, gardens, and common clubhouse. And nowadays there is a podium concept where building may be of 2 acres, 3 acres, and in that there is a common podium. There are 3-4 buildings, but podium is common, like where we have SDN Metropolis or so many where podium is common, but there are 3-4 societies. So how the conveyance can happen? So there is a Supreme Court judgment that in such cases you can form a federation and get the conveyance in the name of federation. If that is not possible, then individual society also can go for a conveyance of undivided share on the basis of FSI control. Suppose there are 3 buildings. So one building has 50% FSI control. So 50% land title will go to them. Their name will appear in the property card for 50%. Another society has got 25,000 square feet out of 1 lakh. So 25% of the land title will go to them. Third society has got another 25%. So their name will appear for 25%. You can just take the book. So considering all these issues, government came up with a detailed GR. That is a procedural aspect. So I would request you to go through page number 12. Page number 12, 22nd June 2018. Page number 12. On 22nd June 2018, Government of Maharashtra had issued number of circulars. So considering all these circulars, see 1 to 12, you can understand, read following 12 provisions. So they were scattered. So it is like a master circular. Government came on 22nd June 2018. So in this entire procedure has been given. This is a Marathi circular which I have translated in English, and it gives you all the procedure to be followed. Okay. Now look at page number 15. Okay. Now B, a procedure to be adopted in respect of issuing deemed conveyance certificate by the district deputy registrar. A corporate authority first ensure that documents mentioned in above mentioned A are attached with the application and thereafter taking the following actions. Okay. Now look at Roman 4. While passing the deemed conveyance order and certificate, district deputy registrar, joint registrar cooperative society CIDCO, and following court should consider the following matter and then pass the order. What it says? If there are many buildings on one plot, if there are many buildings in one plot, are registered as a separate home society for each building, and if the construction some of them are incomplete, then while making the deemed conveyance of completed building, undivided share in the right in the land in proportion to the built-up area of the building of such society or ground coverage or plinth area, similarly open space, common space and facility road shall be granted. That means undivided share is possible.
Undivided share in proportion of FSI consumed.
Absolutely.
Doing this absolutely.
Plinth is your ownership.
Yeah.
Plinth and the land and rest of the
The
thing
same
is.
thing happened with one of our society.
Yeah.
Link plus undivided share.
Correct. Okay.
Sir, one question. Sir, there is other activity producers. They are either through MADA or through public systems. So public systems will work in the same similar way.
Yeah, see, MAHA, the MOFA is not applicable to MAHA because MAHA is an independent act. Okay, it is Maharashtra Housing and Area Development Act. So therefore, that the independent provision is there. Now, public system itself shows that it is a tenanted building. Because it is a tenanted building, unless and until they become the owner, at least the structure, they will not be able to be covered under MOFA. They are covered under Maharashtra Rent Control. So therefore, they are not also covered under MOFA. So therefore, deemed conveyance is not applicable. It is only for private buildings.
Thank you, sir. Any other question?
So that means if it is a leasehold land,
Leasehold land, you get a lease right.
lease right. But conveyance will happen of the society, the structure.
Structure. Land you will have a lease right, and structure you will have ownership.
Okay, so then it will not come under 7/12 or property
So it
card.
will come now as a patteda. That means your name will appear as a leasing.
Okay.
Your name will appear.
The name will appear in the.
Because lease is also one of the rights created under the Transfer of Property Act. So therefore, your name will appear, owner's name will appear. Let us say BMC is the owner of the land. Your name will appear as a leasing. Or if the trust is the owner of the land, trust name will appear and your name will appear as a leasing.
So is there any time limit to get the property, name of the property card after getting link conveyance?
No, you can do anytime you want.
Because we have already filed an application to Tahsildar, but
It is taking time.
but not yet received last 2 years.
You need to follow. You know how the department works.
Already filed, we are all the same
Yeah.
society, we are following it regularly.
Yeah, I understand. What happens is, unlike earlier, income tax, how we used to follow. Now that Modi has made it much simple, because everything is digitalized.
1.5 years we get the income center, but
Yeah.
even the property.
Yeah.
So all other activity has been done. The only thing is the name is no, property has not come yet.
You can show me one of the days and then we can examine. But actually, you have to apply and then you have to do constantly follow and then manage. I use the word manage. So you take the underlying meaning of that.
Real.
Like legal.
लीगल फिक्शन तो वो मैनेज का फॉलोअप का जिसको मराठी में होता है कि तुम्हारा कायदेप्रमाणे करा है कायदा कायदा
सर आपने कहा मोफा कैसा हो सकता है या रिपील हो सकता है
अंमलबजावणी
तो उसके बाद ऑप्शन फॉर डीम कंट्रीज सपोज मोफा गेट्स कैंसर इन 2024 then what will be the option to get
उनका क्या बोला है रेरा नया लॉ आया है 2016 में रेरा आया है ओके 17 से इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ है अभी 6 साल तो हो चुका है और 1-2 साल में बाद में वो बोलता है कि मोफा अभी किसी ने किया नहीं है मोफा रिपील हो जाता है फिर उनको रेरा के अंतर्गत या नहीं है नया कायदा हम लाएंगे नहीं है तो आपका है ना सिविल कोड कंज्यूमर कोड है ना अब आपने अभी 50 साल से नहीं किया है अभी आपको इतना 10 साल में ऑप्शन दिया है फिर भी आप नहीं करना चाहते हो फिर आपको लंबा रूट ही अच्छा है ना
Sir, one more question.
So therefore, recent program, Deputy CM announced that the building which are more than 30 years old, if they are going for self-redevelopment, we will see that you get deep conveyance in 1 month. It's all on the paper and the announcement, but reality it will not happen. There's a different thing. ठीक है? My time is up. आयुष बोल रहा है सर बंद करो. So thank you very much.